This seemed like a good vid to record in the car, so I brought the phone out to the car. Hopefully the audio is not that bad. I'll have to edit that in post. If you're also an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, or someone around that age group, maybe you're 17, maybe you're 20, this video might appeal to you. I'm just going to be talking about stuff that I feel like our generation as a whole might be able to relate to, and I myself want to go into all the fields of art. Like I'm gonna be auditioning for voice acting within the next few days. Now, if you're also somebody who kind of like cares about art the same way, this video might relate to you even more, because maybe you've made something and you don't want to publish it. You do want the world to see it, but you just don't think it's good enough, or there's plenty of holes in, you feel like, oh, I could do better than this. All right, nobody gonna see this. You don't really want to post it. Like, what's the point? And that in itself is probably the same reason that you should post it. Now, I think everything that has to do with those thoughts are more significant than just, being self-conscious about your work. It really does tie into everything you do in your life. And that's kind of what I'm here to talk about now. How I feel about my journey so far, and how those same interpretations of what I think like I can make and I can accomplish have affected me. You could say negatively, but there's always lessons to learn from something, and you can never really say it's negative if you learn a lesson and have changed because of it. I think one of the most important things when it comes to thinking about your work and, the ways it ties into your life, I'm gonna talk about perspective a lot. I think perspective is very important to have a good grasp on. Now, let's say you're 19 and you really want to be a voice actor, right? And I don't know, you compare yourself to someone who really had a head start. Like, they were doing projects when they was, I don't know, let's say 14. They acted as some kid on something. 15, 16, they're getting gigs. And then by 18, 19, the roles that you know them for, they were doing those when they was 18, 19. And, you're 19 and you're like, man, how would I ever be able to compete with that? Not only am I starting too late, but it's like, let's say that's the perspective that you look through, and you're like, wow, it would be so, like, you're 19 now, and obviously you can't expect that if you've done no prior work, you're not gonna land a big AAA studio production for a show or a game. Maybe that's the role that you really want, but you gotta be realistic and be grounded to reality. And that might be discouraging because you see other 19-year-olds being able to do it. But what you have to understand is, and look at this through your own lens, you're 19 years old, right? And I want you to imagine a different person that they did their first gigs when they were 19. They did a few of them here and there. And they were working on a bunch of small projects and maybe did a few indie games when they were like 19 and 20 and 21. And then they're 22 years old, and one of these indie games that they voice acted for ends up being a really big game that people care about a lot. And they just happen to voice the main character of this game. And people are like, wow, they did a great job with this. It might not be the people that play the game saying that. It might be. Maybe it's the casting director saying that. And if it's the casting director saying that like a different casting director, like somebody who works on a different project, and they're like, you know what? I really like what they did with this. I'm gonna try to get in contact with this person who did this voice acting, because we want to cast a character similar to this. We have somebody in our game that kind of fits the same kind of persona, and they did a really good job with it. So why don't we go get in touch with them? And so you're 22 and you haven't really done too many big things, but all you've been doing is working on your craft and had something blow up. Now you get called, you get opportunity, and that was your beginning. From there, your story can look like whatever it wants to look like. It's for you to decide your potential. You have to be able to see yourself through a lens that makes sense to you. Now, the most important thing about all of this is the perspective, like I was bringing up before. And you can take that perspective and say, okay, I started with a 19-year-old there. Well, you're looking at, through realistic options, what could be your perspective. And maybe your story doesn't play out like that. You know, maybe the first gig you landed up being nice, or maybe you work into voice acting, and then while you're in this field, you talk to somebody else and they talk to somebody else. And then you start, you know, because let's just say you draw as a hobby, you draw too. And then they're like, they see your drawings, you know? You're just talking to someone, maybe a coworker that you thought was kind, so you show them your work and they're like, you know what, I think this is really nice. I think I could talk to somebody about this. And it sounds crazy, but these things do happen. Like, I don't even know how to put this. Like, there's just some things that just have happened. And, like, it'd be hard to believe it, but there's 8 billion people on this earth. And somebody somewhere wants that drawing that you drew. You know what I mean? And maybe they like the design. And they could take it somewhere. It doesn't always work out like this, obviously, but like, I'm just trying to give an example for how your perspective really shapes the way you look at things. Because in the prior example, let's put both of them out on outlandish territory. Let's say they're both unrealistic, technically, because they could be low odds of happening if you're relying on like the luck of something to blow up. But at the same time, one of them is something that you cannot do. It was never a part of your story. You were never a voice actor when you were 14. But then there's this other perspective, which is of a 19-year-old. And your 19-year-old years has just started, or it hasn't happened yet. And that goes up until you're 21. Like, that's what the story I made up, right? But those years haven't happened yet. Your 21 hasn't happened yet. So who's to say that isn't in the cards for you? And who's to say what's in the cards for you? Because it could be anything. Because you don't know the life you're gonna lead. Like, I don't know either. I can't tell you what's gonna be going on in 5 years' time. But hopefully, I have my music out there, and somebody cares about it. And somebody will always care about it, because that somebody will be me. And even if I only have one fan, and that fan is me, at least I'm a musician. At least I'm putting my heart into it. As long as I can say that, I'm gonna be happy. And I used the voice acting for the example before, because I've been thinking about that. It's been on my mind, just because I'm also gonna get into that. Just, I feel like doing some gigs. I feel like it'd be a fun thing to do. You know, from singing and stuff like that, I feel like I have a lot better vocal control, and I can put emotion in my voice. And I've always played games and been like, you know, why do they say that like that? Why don't they sound more natural when they speak? They don't seem that natural in this aspect. I always saw in acting as well. It's like, maybe it's intentional though for the character. But I always appreciated when shows had a very grounded, like, this is normal type of feel to them, type of vibe to them. And there might be a space for one more person to enter that field and do that thing and be that grounded individual in one of those shows, and that space might be for me, and it might not be though. But I'm never gonna know that until I go out there and do it. Now, as far as life goes, and everything that you do, your perspective matters the most when it comes to determining your potential. And this can mean your potential in art, but this could just mean the potential in anything you do. And just in your mind, what you are capable of. Maybe it's your dream physique, and maybe your dream physique is Zangief from Street Fighter. Or maybe your dream physique is like a lot slimmer than that, but you still want to be muscular to some extent, right? You can look at it and you can say, well, I'm not there. I don't look like that. I don't look like him yet. And it is what it is. That's healthy. You're being real with yourself. But this is where your perspective matters a lot. Because let's say the physique I really want is somebody who's like 6'4", right? I'm not 6'4". I'm like probably 5'11" at best. And I'm around that up to 6 foot, but that's still not 6'4". So it's like, there's, no matter what I can do to make myself look bigger or something, side by side, I will never look like him. I never will. And I have to realize that. So I'm not delusional and be like, oh, well, I'll be like that. You know, I can't be like that. And that's okay to say. I'm not saying there's no issue with saying that. But what you have to take from this is, well, okay, say I'm 5'11". How about, well, I'm 5'11". I can't be 6'4". I'm never gonna be 6'4" because I'm 5'11". But what I can be is the most muscular and beautiful, like toned 5'11" individual that the world has ever seen. And then you can take that even farther, because maybe, you know, maybe let's say your hair don't really grow long. You know, it takes, you really want long hair, but you can't grow your hair long. That's also a hindrance to you. You know, maybe you're balding a little bit. That's obviously a hindrance to you if you want to have long hair. Well, you will have to look at long hair and say, I'm not going to be able to have that. But instead of saying something like, oh, I can't have this long hair, I'll never reach my full potential, I'll never have the long hair that I always wanted, you could instead look at it and say, well, that's okay. How about let me work with what I got, and I could be the most beautiful, most toned 5'11", bald individual on the planet. And you can keep going down this path more and more and more. When it comes to things that you can't change, what everybody is capable of, though, is using their mind and being able to realize what their full potential is so that they can be happy in that. And maybe it has to do with your art or your music, and maybe, oh, this song isn't good enough to put out yet, you know. And maybe you're right. Maybe you should wait a little bit and work on your craft in the background, and that's okay. But eventually, it's just like, if anybody sees me like this, it is what it is. And if anybody hears my old songs from back when I started, or if anyone sees my old tapes of me like trying to act or something like this from when I first started, like, it is what it is. And it does make a big difference, because you'll feel more motivated to do better the next time. And there'll never be a next time if there's never a first time. And that's a very important thing to understand. Maybe I should have recorded this video earlier in the day, and then it wouldn't have gotten so dark so fast. Because you can literally see, dude, I bet as the video recorded, it was not this dark when I first started recording this. Like, I promise you, the viewer side of things, you're just gonna see it get darker and darker. I'll try to turn up like the I don't even know what it's called, like the aperture in post, maybe, so I can make it look like it's not so You know, like I don't even know what I'm talking about. Like I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't think aperture is the right word, but well, what I'm saying is hopefully making sense. I don't want it to look so dark because like it's dark. I can see on the camera right there that it is like I'm literally just basically like half only showing because there's light right here. That's the only reason. If that light wasn't there, then I would literally be not visible at all. Like it's just that dark. The sun is gone. But it's only like 9:30, so it's not even that late. I'm not trying to like sell this advice as if like, you know, I know what I'm talking about so much. So this is stuff that I talk to myself about and advice that I think I need to listen to. And I'm putting this out there as more of a discussion tool because maybe, you know, you want to maybe have a discussion or just kind of see this and see someone else look through things through the same lens or a different lens. And I'm only 18 myself, so I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know all what I'm talking about. And the reality is I don't, and that's kind of half of what I've been saying. I just think that the perspective that you look through things is important and really shapes how you view things as an individual. I'm putting this online just because it's just nice to have a place to just talk to other people about things that are similar. And this video is more of one of those things where it's like, imagine we're in a call together and I just wanted to talk to you about some stuff, you know, like we're a friend. And I was just thinking about this, so don't think more of this video than what it is. It's basically just a discussion. And, you know, we're young people. And I'm assuming you're young if you made it this far. I don't expect nobody who like 35 to be this deep in the video, especially not because, yeah, nah. If you are, that's cool. You know, shout out to you. And your story is unlike anyone else's if you're gonna start doing stuff now, because nobody else has that. Look, at the end of the day, I just hope somebody found this insightful or useful. If there's anything to take away from this, you know, or just interesting to listen to an 18-year-old just talk about stuff. You know, I was talking on my phone, I'm talking to my camera, so there's nothing much going on, but, and look, and if you're an artist, don't forget, art is your legacy, and art is what people will remember you by. So get your stuff out there and, you know, start like actually, you know what I mean, making a name for yourself. Good luck with that. Have a blessed day.